So I worked with Black Youth Project, and my job was to come in and like redesign it and get it up to par with other media organizations. So like while Chicago is many things, it's not the hub for media, which is like the only thing New York has on this. So the only thing. So that's what I'm doing. So it was Say What, but really mainly GirlSpeak that I was in. I think that GirlSpeak was more integral to my development as a writer or essayist. I only did Say What for a little while, but I did talk to Natasha Tarpley a lot, who was over that program. And then in general for YCA, I was in the Saturday writing program, and they would also come on Tuesday. So I actually spent a lot of time here, like a little bit too much time.
A little bit too much?
Yeah, because we would come, especially the kids that were coming in from Oak Park, since we were like interlopers anyway, like they just had started letting, well not just, but they started letting Oak Park people come in, I think in like the early 2000s. So we still count interlopers coming in. They're like, oh, you're close enough, so I guess you can be part of this organization. Even though it's still called Young Chicago Authors. So we would leave Oak Park at like 9 a.m. to get here for classes. And frankly, if you're interested in all the classes, that means that you would be here from 10 to 3. And maybe even longer, right, if you sit and talk or whatever is happening. And then during the summer, I would do GirlSpeak. That ran from maybe late May to early August. And we would produce an issue by the end of that period. We would take in submissions. We would do, sometimes we had events. One year we went to a women's studies conference. So it was a lot of things that were happening.
And how do you think that helped you grow as a writer?
Well, thinking about it, I was thinking recently about, I went to women's college. I actually did not take a women's studies class while at Wellesley, because I felt like I go to women's studies college. I don't really need to take this. But also that I just really lucked out because the GirlSpeak program was so diverse that it wasn't like white feminism. It was just very open. In fact, we studied Chicana feminism and we like reading June Jordan. It was very open, and that was very unusual, I think, at the time. Also, I was like 15. And I think that was just really good for my development. I don't think I would have been able to go to Wellesley or maybe any college to that, actually without that program. It really opened up my world. I think YC opened my world in general. So I think that was just integral to my development as a writer. I did it for one summer after college before I aged out of being able to do the program. But I didn't write for the Wellesley newspaper. I wasn't interested. I'm okay with that decision. I didn't want to write for the Wellesley newspaper. I think, though, that it allowed for me to be confident enough to do that once I graduated and were in situations in which I had to write. I just fell into a communications internship at the Center for American Progress, so that I felt very comfortable going and writing, because it's something that I already done. I felt very comfortable in my writing skills, and I think it's interesting that confidence came from high school as opposed to college, which I think maybe says something about the program. Wellesley doesn't have sororities, it has societies that are based off of academic interests, but also it's just a social thing. So the literary society, I joined that one, even though I was one of the few people that were actually creative writers. So I did a lot. It really taught me how to be open and you interacted with all types of people, right? You have people that are coming from like Jordan or Malaysia or Arizona, which is all, they might all be like 50,000 miles away from me. And so I found that Wellesley was just really good about learning how to interact, connect, and I think those skills have helped me also in post-college world, like knowing how to interact with people, be able to connect with them, and not in a I want to see what I can get from you networking way, but just because you're interested in who they are as a person has been very, very helpful. So work I was doing in DC, I did a few things. I originally came down there, which is like a secret. I was doing one of the teaching programs that I won't name. And I'm very glad that I left. But I left because I got ill, which, I mean, being ill isn't fun. It's, in fact, the opposite of fun. But it was good in the sense that it allowed me to reevaluate what I was doing. I quit everything. Once I got I was misdiagnosed with depression, but once I got that diagnosis, I dropped everything. I was like, I'm actually much more invested in my health than I am in any markers of success. because it doesn't really matter if I have any market success if I'm not alive. That, you know, it's kind of a waste of time for everyone involved. So I quit everything, and I came home for like a month just to get my bearings, and then I kind of fell into this internship at the Center for American Progress. So that was a communications internship, and then from there, I never done odd jobs. Actually, I have no like barista skills or any like I can't serve anyone anything. I didn't ever do any odd jobs. I have none of those skills. I like worked for another nonprofit briefly, because I will never work for a fucking nonprofit ever again. Maybe this nonprofit, but never again. They suck. Unorganized. They're petty. It's just all these things.
You get that everywhere.
Yeah, you get that everywhere. But like at least we're in the private industry, you have more money. I just that's why I don't understand. It balances out the pettiness. So yeah, fuck nonprofits. Sorry y'all. So I left that, and as I was the week I left, or the week I was getting ready to leave, I saw the fellowship listing for the route. So I applied, and I had a high school classmate who was working there, but also a connect through a internship that I did in DC the previous summer, like 2 summers before that, was working there. So I got it. I didn't do the Tumblr thing in terms of like, that wasn't like, I wasn't writing and getting my work noticed that way. I was an early adopter for Tumblr, and I just was reblogging pretty pictures and like funny sayings. Like I wasn't doing that work. But my friend Hannah Georges, who is starting at BuzzFeed in 2 weeks, her Tumblr name was at the time Dope is Ethiopian. She has like 20,000 followers. If she sees this, she's going to curse me out because she hates people knowing how much, and it's probably more than that. Like people recognize her as Dope is Ethiopian as opposed to her real name. But I think Hannah's a good model for, she was at Dartmouth, one of the only black kids, right? Kind of depressed. She needed Tumblr to be an outlet for her, and she just wrote, and people really liked what she was writing. And I think from there, she kind of was able to pitch things and get writing opportunities. And she worked for a nonprofit for the last 2 years, but then BuzzFeed poached her. So I think she was a good model for like doing your own blogging. I definitely think doing blogging can still work if you do that well. And I think Tumblr is still, I would rate that's a better platform to do that on right now instead as any other platform. I think Britt Julius, who is from Oak Park, she's also a good example of this too. She has a Tumblr called Briticisms. I think she has like 50,000, something ridiculous like that. And I think that allowed Brittany to kind of go, and now she does stuff for Noisy, amongst other things. I think that those are good models if you want to go that way. It's not the only way. I think trying to get the experience at a college level if you can is fine. I just didn't find the Wellesley newspaper to be that situation. So that didn't work for me. And the journal that was there also didn't really work for me. So I would have never done that. But I think if you can get the college skills and like do that, then that's cool. Like that seems to be a good way to do things. Now the post-college experience was like doing fellowships and internships, and there's a whole conversation to be had about labor issues around that, and whether or not you have a family backing. Right, I'm very lucky that my grandparents did very well for themselves. You know, my mother is a white-collar professional, because if not, I wouldn't have had the ability to do that. I think people should be honest about that. That those types of industries kind of create what's the term? It's just like circular, because in order to have that internship, you have to have a certain background or get funding from somewhere. If you don't, then you're kind of blocked out of that. But even though that's the pathway to get you somewhere else.
Yeah, it's very like paved way.
Yeah, in some ways, right? So I think people should be honest about the fact that those fellowships and internships, while they're good for experience, only a certain kind of person can afford to take them. So I think that that's important to realize going into it. And I enjoyed my time at the Root. It's just, right, like I said, I got to a point where I felt like I was being underutilized, so it was time to move on. But I learned so much from them, and I enjoyed the publication. But I think this happens to young people a lot. I think that the workforce is changing, and that we're changing the workforce, and some things just don't work for us.
I got the chance to listen to your feature that you wrote right away a couple of weeks ago, which I know we were all super stoked to have you back, and otherwise seems really proud of the work that you've been able to do since you left here. It's really like a good role model for kids who are incarcerated.
It's laughable that I'm a role model for anyone, but yeah.
Well, learning that like they're, you know, reaffirming that the skills that they're gaining here and the work they're doing is something that like can really help them move forward, and it's something that they can keep doing because they love it and everything.
Yeah.
I just thought you were
And I think that that's different. I think that these kids are able to actually imagine that. When I was like the 05, 06, 07, I still think there wasn't, I don't think we really thought we were like, oh, we're not, like, no one said then that like, oh, we're going to be poets or writers in 10 years. Like that didn't seem like it was feasible in terms of being able to support yourself. But I also think the industry has changed. Yeah, I think so I'm glad the kids now, 16, 17, 18-year-olds now, like they can actually see models where it's like, no, you could just go into being a writer and you can feed yourself and you can that actually make more money than maybe some other professions. Oh, what's this? I feel like I'm always in some right at the point in the prognosis, or I guess the way this illness is playing out. I have bipolar 2 disorder, right? That like I'm always in some situation which I'm either depressive or a little bit more elevated, but then bipolar 2 disorder, the way that it works is kind of like you feel somewhat elevated. It's not considered mania, it's called hypomania, which is why the suicide rate for this particular kind is so high, because most people aren't realizing that's what's happening. They're just wondering, like, you know, I felt so sad the other day, and now I felt a little bit better, and then it just went into deep depression, like what's wrong with me that I can't get better. So that's why that's happening. So I feel like because they're still just kind of taking its course, because medications and I think things I'm going to have to reevaluate, I feel like I'm always kind of crazy. But also that line is just a play off of the Sylvia Plath line. And she talks about being crazy is all I am. I think Sylvia Plath is a really good model for this. I've been looking for Black poets who've been talking about this. And I mean, outside of like my peer network, and I can't find anyone from her generation that was talking about it. That could be for various reasons. But I think Sylvia is a really good, I mean, she obviously was dealing with a lot, and they've said too that if she lived during this time period, she probably could have done a little bit better, but the 50s were terrible for mental health care. She didn't get that, she couldn't get the help that she needed.
Was it hard for you to talk about your illness at some point?
Yeah, originally I was trying to hide it, and then it occurred to me, why the fuck am I trying to hide this? Like, people are crazy. That's a thing. That's a real life thing, and that it didn't help me to hide it, because also I can't hide it. It's not like depression where you can do a better job of hiding it. Like the mania will make it. I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's hard to hide this because it will be so obvious that you're so down, and then you'll be a little bit better. It's just a little bit more obvious. I mean, people probably would read this like, oh, she's just eccentric, or she's moody, because not everyone has the language to identify mental illness. But it's really hard to hide. I feel like this is what I talk about writing the poems too, because I come off a certain way. I went to a good school, and I can speak a certain way, and I dress a certain way, and I look a certain way. I can do a better job of fooling people, because whatever reasons. But you're still having the issues. And I thought about when I was at Wellesley, I don't think, well, I think now I can see some signs of mania. But my senior year, I was dealing with depression. Now I know I was dealing with depression. Because it struck me, it's like, oh, I'm crying, I sleep tonight. Like, to sleep at night, that's kind of weird. Probably shouldn't be doing that. And I feel kind of sad. So it occurred to me, it's like, maybe this is what depression is. Don't know. I'm going to go to the psychiatrist on campus to try to figure this out. But when I got there, she talked to me a little bit, and she was like, oh, well, you know, you're smart, you're pretty, you're popular because you're classmates unless you're just student government. So, you know, I think you're fine. That was no, she doesn't really do it. She's like, you're pretty, you're popular, your grades are not suffering, so, you know, I don't think you're depressed. But yeah, at 21, 22, I didn't know how to advocate for myself. I was like, oh, the psychiatrist says that I'm fine. Then I'm fine. Yeah. And that continued into post-college too. Originally I was, before the depressive diagnosis. I got a diagnosis of adjustment disorder, which was basically because it's like, oh, you went to Wellesley, so you're a smart girl. So it's just, yeah, because it's bullshit.
Yeah.
That's why you never heard about it. It's a bullshit. It's a bullshit diagnosis. Because they're like, which, I mean, there is some adjustment period from college to the real world, whatever that means. But really, like, that's what you think, that you really think this is what this is. But yeah, the reason I got that diagnosis was because, again, you're a pretty girl and you went to Wellesley, so there's nothing that could really be that wrong. You're just having trouble adjusting to life post-college. But like, you'll get fine after a couple months. And it just wasn't the case. Yeah.
So, at what point did it become easier to talk about things?
I wrote a piece, I think, there's a Tumblr called Wellesley Underground, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's the anti-Wellesley alum magazine. It's like, this is for the real stuff, not about how I run a, big business, or I'm Hillary Clinton, or I'm Madeleine Albright. It just is like what we really do. I think I wrote for that about something, and so that made it easier because the response from my classmates was really, really good. And then in terms of creative work, I think within the year I was able to start writing about it. But it was also hard to write because I was so ill. The depression, the mania, like, really fucks up my concentration. So I'm in the process right now of getting some Concerta, and I think once I get this Concerta, my life will be so much better. Because being able to concentrate is really, really great. I haven't been able to do that in a long time, and so it's kind of a problem. And yeah, I think after that I wrote something for The Root. Well, it was on my blog and they reposted it. And then I wrote something for The Root, and that was really good. I had people people from here that I didn't know, and then from all over reached out to me after that piece, from all varying backgrounds. And I think that made it easier after that, knowing it's like, oh, people were thanking me for that, or people that I knew were like very glad that I shared that with them. And yes, I found that to be really good. So I was like, oh, just keep writing, because it's something that people still don't really, like, there's more writings about it, but it's still not something that is actively written about, that makes sense. It's slowly but surely, but it's not to the extent that it probably could be. If you could, they're not writing the same people who write about divorce or relationship advice or what all the many things that people write about. This one is still one of the issues people don't, because it is so personal, and people are also very ignorant.
During the future, you talked about how when you're actively suicidal, you don't trust yourself around like knives or like up on high floors, or keeping a lot of knives around. And that just struck me as a really impressive level of being able to be honest with yourself, even when you're in like such a hard place, and like knowing yourself so well and also being protective of yourself. And I was just kind of wondering if you have anything to share about how you manage to like protect yourself like that when you're in a place like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's maybe just part of my personality. I've been trying to think about this too for a long time. I guess your natural instinct is to protect yourself in general. So I think that just kind of overrides the depression. I think I'm self-aware enough to be able to talk myself out of some things, and I think that not everyone's able to do that for the varying reasons, right? Maturity level, whatever. You just aren't able to do that. I think being self-aware is part of it. Like, I can still be like, oh, intellectually, I know this is depression speaking. It's not really myself. So I'm aware that something is happening that's out of my control. And yeah, I'm honest with myself. I was like, I can't be trusted to have a large amount of medications by me. Not because I don't think I would take them, because I feel like I would be like 5 in and be like, this is dumb. Like, why am I doing this? Like, this isn't, I can't see myself downing a bottle of pills. I can't even like drink an entire thing of water. So I don't really see myself doing that. I don't know. I think, like, also intellectually, I know, like, I don't think I'm gonna cut myself. And like the real, I was like watching the show, and when the girl actually did that, I was like, oh, I can't actually do that to my friends and family. When I knew what senior risk, I knew that it's whatever, but seeing it visually, I was like, oh, I can't do this myself. I don't think I could get that far anyway, without being like, oh, I should probably go to the hospital.
Yeah.
But also, I was like, oh, I can't do that to my friends. I don't want anyone to find me that way, because that would be, not trying to scar anybody for life. It wouldn't be, I think that was not me. Very considerate. I don't live high enough, I think, I think if I jumped out of my current building, I'd like break a leg maybe, but I think I would die. It would just be like an inconvenience. So, but I'm still honest enough to be like, I don't want to take any chances, because what if something happens where I can't talk myself out of something and I'm like that unhappy? So I just try to keep things out of my reach.
And you also said it's sort of like a stressor to like those things.
Yeah, it's kind of stressful, so I just kind of keep them out of my reach, and I try to think about them. My mother is undiagnosed, with the irony being that my mother is also a psych nurse, right? So like I couldn't write that. I can make that up if I try, right? That my mother has right? She's never gotten diagnosed, but I have eyes, and it looks to me like bipolar disorder, which would make sense since I have it. But she's never been diagnosed with it because she doesn't think anything's wrong with her. Again, the irony being that she's probably at this very moment giving someone their meds on the psych floor. So I know what untreated mental illness looks like and how that can negatively impact your life. And I knew I didn't want to be like that. So once I saw any inklings that I too could have a mental illness, that's why I dropped everything. I mean, that's the honest answer. I know it was like when you don't take it seriously and when you don't think it's a real thing, and you just kind of go about life. And there's no reason for me to be living life unhappily or like refusing to recognize something's wrong, or like cutting everyone out because you think that everyone else is wrong and you're not wrong. Just like that is, I don't want to live like that. So I also felt like I spent a good portion of my life running away from mental illness because I knew it was a possibility deep down, even if I didn't always have the language for it. I was like, I don't want to be like this. So I took it very seriously once it occurred to me that there was something wrong. I never actually had an assignment. I don't know, I've always written for like media, digital media, so I never really had an assignment where I had to go somewhere. Okay. I can't really speak to that. Some things I've enjoyed writing. I enjoyed writing about Black Youth Project and the similar organizations, mostly like when Eric Garner was, like those responses were happening, because I was still at the root. And I really enjoyed the fact that I could give them a larger platform. Malcolm called me one day saying like I knew about the recharging side, but it hadn't really occurred to me to write about it. And Malcolm called me up one day and was like, hey, can you write about this? I was like, oh yeah, he's right. I do in fact know him. And a good portion of the people going, he's correct, I should.
Wait, sorry,
about the recharging side.
Okay.
Contention that was going to the United Nations. It just hadn't occurred to me to like write about it in that way. And also the fact that I know Malcolm. And enough for him to call me and be like, hey girl, do you want to write about this? And here's who you should talk to. And then I wrote about that. I think that story did really, really well, in fact. So that was like the last major thing I did at the root that I really enjoyed. And then I've only done some freelancing. I'm getting back into that. I really like my Chance the Rapper piece. I mean, I wasn't sent on assignment for that, but it just kind of happened. I went and saw the performance. I was like, I have to write about this performance. So I really enjoyed that. When I entered college, like the people that had done like journalism in college, they're all like, these are the facts. You can't connect yourself to these stories. I was like, I don't know what? No one gives a fuck about that. And that's so outrageous. You're a human being. Like, you have to be connected to it. Like, I'm not impartial. I would never sit here and say that I'm impartial to anything, which is why I don't really like being called a journalist. I feel like I would prefer to say a writer and poet and essayist as opposed to a journalist, because I think there's still that you're an impartial person. So that's just blatantly false. I'm not an impartial person. So I'm not going to be out there like talking about the recent murders, X, Y, and Z. Like I would just find that I can't do that. So that's why I write essays, I think. And doing that through GirlSpeak, I think just allowed me to keep doing it. Like, it didn't occur to me that was like not a right way to go about journalism. It was like, I write essays, and this is what my take is on this. And that's been helpful for me because I've been doing it for so long. It wasn't hard for me to like get out this idea of like not inserting myself into something because I'm just writing essays or I guess what media will call hot takes. I'm just writing my take on something as opposed to like
creative nonfiction.
Yeah. So yeah, and so that was easier for me.
Do you have any idea of what is sort of like the big long-term dream?
Well, to write a couple books, I'm going to do that. And I would like to keep working digital media. I don't really know if I ever want. I think so for a lot of goals, the goal is to be an editor. I'm currently looking as an editor. And I don't know if that's like the large, the big goal. Like I like that work, but I also just write. I like writing. So a staff writer position could be cool. I don't know if I need to be editor. Like I'm not opposed to that. That'd be cool. But I also kind of like being a staff writer.
What do you like working with, or what do you like about working as an editor?
I like the fact that like I can produce the story ideas and go from there and assign them. What I don't like about it is that I'm writing story ideas and assigning them as opposed to doing it myself.
Yeah.
That is the difference. And I like that, and I think I could do it. But I think after my job here, I think I would like to go back into a staff writer position and then maybe go back to editing after that. But in the meantime, write my books, my poetry books, and maybe I would like to do poetry, a collection of essays, and maybe a novella. Like, you know how Mango Street is? I think I can write something like The House on Mango Street, or something similar to Gwendolyn Brooks's Maud Martha. I don't see myself writing a thick, just because of my concentration, I can't write that long. But I think I could write something and like pass it off as a book.
Do you have any other off-the-cuff advice for young writers?
No, other than that it's like a real thing that you can make money from, and to make money from it, like don't, like there's gonna be a point where people are like, I won't pay you for this essay that you're gonna write. It's exposure. Exposure does not pay anything. I mean, I can see taking it for like one or a couple of your first opportunities, just so you have the clips to then go to someone else that will pay you. But do not make it a lifelong thing to get exposure. Like you need to only do that for a few times and then to move on, because that's outrageous. People don't ask doctors to do stuff for free for exposure. Like that's outrageous. Labor is labor. Labor is not free, and it shouldn't be. So that's what I would say. It's like make sure that you're not being taken advantage of. That's very important. That's it.
Okay.
Don't be taken advantage of.